All right, I just wanted to show you guys on here also. I will put a link in the description, but these are the spacers that I bought. See right here, they are $36.99. Comes with both of them, and then you can choose from the 3/4 studs or the 5/8 studs, depending on what you're using them on. But for my E250, mine used the 3/4 studs. I've already measured those and everything. So $36.99 for the whole kit. All right, real quick, I just wanted to add another clip on here. You're only going to be taking off 3 bolts to install this kit. You're going to have one bolt here that runs down through this. There'll be a bolt with a nut on the bottom. You'll be taking that off. You'll be taking off the lower shock bolt, and you can get to it from the back. It comes back this direction towards me. You'll be actually at the nut. You'll be taking a nut off there, and then up here at the very top of the spring, there'll be a little bracket that comes down around that spring that has a 10 millimeter in it. So those are the only 3 bolts you have to take off, and you will not need a spring compressor to get this spring out of here or put it back in, because once you take this lower shock bolt loose and you drop this I-beam down, that gives you enough clearance to pull this thing out and put it back in. Alright, so I just wanted to do a quick rundown on what all I had to do so far to get all this apart. The caliper stays on. I had enough length on this line to leave that on there. I did not take the tie rod off on this side. That's still on there. This bolt on your stock spring comes down from the top. So if you reuse this bolt, you're going to be coming in from the bottom, from underneath going up. So this will be popping out the top. Now you are going to have to cut this off to put this extension on here, which isn't a big deal. Or just buy longer bolts, one of the two, and not use this at all. So this is going to go on here first. Flat part is going to face this direction, and then this thing here is going to go on. Now I was able to pull the spring off with this still on. I couldn't get to the head of the bolt on this without taking that spring off. So just to let you know, you are able, if you take that spring and move it around a little bit, you are able to pop that off with this on there. So I'm going to put this on, run the bolt all the way up through there. Well, you'll put your bolt extension on first, obviously. Put this on, and then put this nut on, which surprisingly fits down inside of there, even though this was on the bottom when we took it off. It was down here. This was a 13/16. This one here. You'll have to take this back shock bolt out, which you get to from the back. That was, I believe, a 19 millimeter. And then the only other thing you got to take off is this right here, which will be up here. That's a 10 millimeter. Alright, so I ran into a problem. These studs are just a hair bigger than a 3/4. Now this nut will actually fit on here. Fits on there fine, but it does have just a little bit of wiggle. And these little extensions will not fit on here, so we're going to have to get some longer bolts. We're going to have to get 8.5 or 9-inch will work just fine in a 3/4 inch stud. So I'm going to have to go to the hardware store and pick 2 of these up, and I'll probably just go ahead and get some nuts and maybe a couple washers as well. Alright, so I picked up these 3/4 inch grade 8 bolts. The extensions fit on these perfect. So that one there is all the way tightened down, just to show the lengths. I'm gonna have to take it back off before I install it. But this is without, this is with, and then this is the length compared to the original, which is obviously longer, which is what you want, but hopefully we're not too long. We have about a ½ an inch longer than what we should have been. This is an 8-inch bolt. So we're going to see when I put this thing up on here. Alright, so here is the bolt going in from the bottom. This bolt here, this head here is a 1 1/8 inch socket on a 3/4 stud. This is completely bottomed out. You can see there's some threads right there still. It's not going to matter because there's going to be a nut up top on all this. But this extension is completely tightened up. So next I'm going to set the spacer on here. Now I tried to use the original spring insulator to put over the top of this, and it didn't fit. I tried to heat it up. It's old rubber. You may be able to get a new rubber one to fit around that, but in my situation it's not going to happen. So I'm going to roll with it like this. Next thing I'm going to do is put this little spring perch thing on here if I can find it. Alright, so here's this piece. This will go on like this. And then you can see I have plenty of stud down in there to put that nut on there. Now I went ahead and bought some new nuts just for the simple fact that those original ones had a little bit of slop in them. I showed you that earlier in the video. I wanted these to fit tight on these new studs, so we'll be putting this on next and then putting the spring back up on here. Alright, so there that is, completely installed. Put a little bit of the thread locker on that top nut. Alright, now I'm going to lower this jack down I have underneath this I-beam down here. Lower this down and reinstall the spring. So this whole thing here is going to drop down. It's going to give us some room to put our spring back in. There's that. No spring compressor needed. I don't know if you can see that on there or not, but it just sits on there. And then here's a little bracket. I may end up having to do that first. See how am I going to do this? Let's wrap that around the back.
Get back.
Yeah.
Where are my mom's keys?
Should be over there on that table. Okay, that goes around the front door, the front spring. Like that. Okay, now we're going to start jacking it back up. I'm just holding that with my finger right now until everything gets back up where it needs to be. Okay, so now I can put this bolt back in. So before I start jacking this thing up tight, I'm getting crazy with it. I'm going to go ahead and put this top bolt in. You see the bottom still just sitting on here. Everything's still loose as far as the spring itself. Alright, going up. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is hook this rear shock or this bottom shock bolt back up. All right, that's it, guys. Everything's tightened up. Everything's back on. I'm gonna go ahead and put the wheel back on. All right, here's the passenger, or no, this is the driver's side installed. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys, I noticed it when I got done with the other side. This spring kind of angles back toward the bottom this direction. I was worried about that until I took this side apart. When I took the wheel off, the stock spring, before I ever put this on, had the same exact angle to it, had the same kind of bend to it here, so that's not nothing to be worried about if you do notice that. These are the ball joint casters, the little caster adjustments. You basically break this bolt loose, then you can adjust this. If you turn it clockwise, it will bring the top of your wheel towards the engine. If you turn it counterclockwise, it'll bring your wheel out, which you're not going to want to do because they're going to be sitting out to begin with. So you may be able to turn these in yourself even before you go get an alignment and get your wheel to sit pretty damn straight. Now, I don't know if these are the stock ones. These have the hexagon things on the top, which are the adjustable style. I don't know if somebody replaced mine or not, but you may have the round headed ones on yours. So just keep that in mind. But you can buy these. You can buy a set of these for like 30 bucks on Amazon. All right, so here's what it looks like with the 2-inch lift. As you can see, it doesn't have that downward slouch in the front like I had before. Had like a downward rake kind of on the front end. It's pretty much level now. I can notice a difference when I'm getting in and out of it. You wouldn't think 2 inches would make that big of a difference as far as noticing the height difference getting in and out, but it does. I can notice that it's taller. So next I'm going to get the alignment done, and then we will get the tires put on. Just wanted to show you guys real quick before I leave here. Here's the driver's side. Passenger side. I was able to adjust these a little bit. The toe isn't perfect on it, but it's a lot better than it was.